Hello, I'm Neil Nobel, editor-at-large of The Prickly Pear, and welcome to the Cactus Patch. Our guest today is Jim O'Connor, chairman of the Arizona Corporation Commission. Jim, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure to be chatting with you today, Neil. Thank you.
Well, energy seems to be a critical issue today, and where Arizona's position for this, of course, is important for the future. Give us kind of an update and a review, if you would, of where we are in terms of electrical power and other related matters to the Corporation Commission and Arizona.
We are, as we always are in all things political, in trouble and on the edge. It's no surprise for our fellow citizens to read in the media and hear on the news, crisis, 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 one after another. When we get a freeze in Texas in the winter months, we could see gas prices spike 100-fold. Thankfully, they're only up there for a day or two, but that's enough to actually bankrupt a multi-billion-dollar gas companies if you're on the wrong side of that equation. So your five members of the Arizona Corporation Commission spend a lot of time focusing on our distribution companies, because what we regulate here in our state in the way of gas, electricity, water, and wastewater, those are the public service utility companies that we do the price setting, the rate setting, what people get to pay for a kilowatt hour of power, or every time you flush your toilet or run the sink or the dishwasher, you're using up the water resource and then flushing it away from your property, and there's another charge associated with that. But all five of us, four Republicans and one Democrat, are very, very focused on keeping the companies that provide the service, provide the grid here in the state, keeping them profitably in business. And why are we focused and care about profits of private corporations? Well, if you've got a bankrupt corporation, they have no chance of providing a useful and resilient electric grid or clean and pure drinking water to your homes. So we need good businesses run by very, very smart people. And I like to say that in my 2 years and 9 months of serving you and all Arizona residents on the Corporation Commission, I was very excited to learn that we've got superior senior management at all of our power companies, water companies, gas company here in the state. And that was very, very reassuring. These people are up to date, very knowledgeable, very engaged, and they are proactive in running their businesses. They are concerned about water resources, even those in the power business. There's a lot of water used in the production of electricity, and everybody is very mindful, and they all seem to approach keeping their businesses running with conservative principles, because they're all into conservation and educating their ratepayers when things are happening, why things are happening. So I'm very impressed and very encouraged that we regulate a very mature and sophisticated industry here in the state of Arizona.
You know, there's a huge debate about energy. It never really used to be a matter of such debate, but now there's a push to replace traditional forms of energy with wind and solar, and seems like nuclear maybe is making some sort of a comeback. How do you see the future?
Well, on the nuclear point, I sure hope so. All five of us just got back from a conference in Atlanta, Georgia, 2 weeks ago today, as a matter of fact. And one of the sidebar discussions, although it was a water utility conference, one of the sidebar discussions was on other states and other state regulators and how they're dealing with what they call modular nuclear reactors. These are not like our show plate Palo Verde nuclear facility, which is to replace that thing today. I couldn't count the billions of what it would cost. It would be in the tens and tens of billions. And that's because of legal fees, judiciary processes, special interests objecting. We have the entire continent of Western Europe is political left-leaning group. And all of our left-leaning thinkers here in the United States look to Europe for everything, for modeling, except in the energy space as it relates to nuclear energy. Europe understands that nuclear energy is clean, is renewable, no carbon footprint, which is ostensibly what they argue in favor of, right? No carbon. Let's get that out of the way. So they have that in nuclear, and Western Europe is smart enough to understand that and rely dominantly on nuclear energy to power that continent very successfully, very smartly, very efficiently.
Although I
But
would there seems to be a split between the French, who are very pro-nuclear, and the Germans, which are, I guess, closing their last 3 remaining plants.
Yeah, well, the Germans have proven to be slow in a lot of areas. At one time in history, they were a very smart conservative nation, but they pulled the plug on that. I don't know what they've been eating for lunch over there. Probably German food instead of French food, but that's another story. Back to the people on the left here in our nation that are anti-nuclear. They don't follow that French model of proliferation of nuclear power. So they're always against it, or they're dragged to the dance, and they make it take up more time, more money, and therefore more expense. But modular nuclear reactors are going to be of necessity, and they're smaller, cleaner, easier, and very, very powerful. So I'm excited about that being a part of Arizona's future. Anybody who's out there believing it's all going to happen with sunshine is really following the Pied Piper off a cliff or into the woods, into very dangerous territory. There is a good way that many here in Arizona have already proceeded with investments in wind energy and solar energy. And actually, we just had a case this past week where we approved one of the Arizona cooperatives, which is not even a for-profit company, but basically a traditional cooperative structure, Trico Energy, just north of Tucson. And they just got approval for an experimental pilot program in electric vehicle charging. And we gave them great compliments at the commission because they have introduced that pilot program on a user pay for service basis. That is, it's not subsidized by other company ratepayers. And just 2 months ago, I was up with the governor actually in Winslow, Arizona, dedicating an AES energy company wind farm. And we did the phase 1 that went into business in early July. Phase 2 will be in July of next year. And that company will be delivering almost 500 megawatts of power out of a wind farm. And what the offtake of all the power generated is going to be Arizona Public Service Company. So APS and its ratepayers are not out a dime. They didn't make an investment. A private company with their own net after-tax dollars invested in this wind energy farm. So it's clean, it's renewable, and we don't need the sunshine in. The wind blows at night. Unlike solar is worthless at night. No sun, no energy. So it's a good complement to solar power and clean energy. And as it is produced, APS will take that energy at fair market prices. They're not paying above the market for clean energy, which when the commission originally, almost 16 years ago now, initiated the REST rules, that's the Renewable Energy Standard Tariff. When that was originally put into place, the commission, on behalf of the people of Arizona, mandated that APS enter a contract where for the last 16 years and for the next 14 are paying a price. I'll try to put this in a simple term. They're paying $12 a kilowatt hour as opposed to $2 a kilowatt hour. That's the ratio. So if you think about a futures market contract, APS is obligated, and we forced them to obligate themselves. We mandated it. When we do that with a private company, we have to guarantee them, I shouldn't use the word guarantee, we have to let them know that we will allow rates charged to ratepayers sufficiently high for them to recoup the cost of that investment and what was then in those days, a 10% profit or rate of return on that investment. So we, government, then forced private business to get into solar before they were ready to take that step, just market-driven, market principle, free market activity. We pushed them into that forcefully, and therefore our ratepayers for Arizona Public Service, in that case, buying that power, are paying 6 times the cost of solar energy that could be purchased today. And that's the role of government, where we conservative Republicans say, no, stop. Let's let business, let's let free market set the market. Let not have government come in and make these decisions, because every time they do, every time without exception, it costs citizens, ratepayers, taxpayers money. So it can be done well. And my compliments to APS and the folks at AES who made that wind farm happen very, very successfully. That's a win-win-win for everybody. That will generate enough power to light 111,000 homes. It's a big deal.
Has there been any talk about desalination and bringing more water into Arizona? Particularly, I think of the Israeli model, where they have, I think, 5 or 6 plants up and down the Mediterranean, and they use nuclear power. Any talk about that at all?
Not at the commission. And this is an item, Neil, I'd like to attempt to clarify for the average Arizonan who really doesn't understand all that the commission does and that which we do not do. We've got a role, for example, in water, and you just brought it up on the desalination issue. Our role in government, as I suggested earlier, is rate setting. We regulate the price people pay for volumes of water. That's our job. There are 2 other Arizona government agencies. One is the Air Quality Management, and that's air and water quality, that do the testing for arsenic and PFAS and other poisonous elements that are in groundwater and river water. So they make judgments and determinations on the quality of the water we drink and use. We do the rate setting. Then there's the Department of Water Resources, which is a totally independent state agency. We have almost zero interaction with them. Sometimes they and we have people serving on a larger committee or commission that's created from time to time. But their role is sourcing of water. So it would be the Department of Water Resources that would be focused and have jurisdiction over investments in desalination of water. It would not be the Corporation Commission. But if we could take a turn in this discussion, I'd like to share with you, as the year began, I had the honor of being elected chairman of the commission by my fellow commissioners here now serving. And it was my good friend Anna Tovar, who's the Democrat commissioner, former mayor of Tolleson, who put my name in nomination for chairman, which was very generous and bold of her to do. But we've worked very, very well together. And I'd like to give you I had asked my administrative assistant at mid-year, I'm doing it again as we will end September and have another quarter behind us. But at the end of June, I had my admin assist do a tally of the 156 votes taken January through June of this year. 91% of the votes were 5-0.
Wow.
Now, I want you to think about that as you consider a government agency with a red team and blue team participants. We don't have that fight to the death battle on every little issue that we see in the state house or the state senate or in Congress itself, for that matter. This is a business job for business people, and we've got a wonderful complement right now of folks with very diverse backgrounds that complement each other beautifully on the commission. We work very, very civilly with each other. I credit that to a lot. We are all people of faith. And in back when I was originally inaugurated 2 years and 9 months ago, I had my pastor come down and do a blessing on the entire commission and everybody in it. And then Chairwoman Leah Marquez Peterson was so moved by that prayer that she called me the next day and said she was going to inaugurate prayer before every open meeting. So I'm pleased to report for the last 2 years and 9 months, every public open meeting of the Corporation Commission has been open with 2 minutes of prayer, led by each commissioner on a rotating basis. And when we all acknowledge that we have a creator to whom we are accountable, somehow behavior changes. And it's been a absolute pleasure for me to serve, and now in a leadership role, serving with my fellow commissioners to an individual layer, just wonderful public servants with the best interest of the public in mind, and the voting record truly reflects that we are coming together on over 90% of the time. We're in agreement. From a running the agency standpoint, let me go on to say this, because this is something there's no press on and nobody really considers, but it is a government agency, and we just got a budget increase from 34 million to 40 million a year under a Democrat governor, which is a coup to say the least. And we, on behalf of all the people we serve, we're very, very grateful for that budget increase. The agency was kind of a bastard stepchild because it is not an agency under the governor's control, under any governor. It's a standalone. We're elected individually by the people of the state, and we oversee an executive director who's, think of him or her as the chief operating officer of that agency. So we all have the hire and fire responsibility of the executive director. And then from there, that person, independent of us, runs the 8 divisions and what had once been 301 statutorily authorized full-time employees of the Corporation Commission. That number had atrophied down at 245 as of the beginning of this year. And we're in a service business, and we were shy 20% of what was needed to serve the public. So the budget increase was all about allowing us to go in and rehire those 60 some odd people that had been lost over the last 13 years and never replaced. So service was getting bad. We were able to do a national search, started in January. We brought in a young man, early 60s, by the name of Doug Clark from Nebraska. He came down and joined us the beginning of April, so he's there 6 full months at this point, and he has really done an outstanding job. We already have the head of the utility division replaced with 2 of what had been his subordinates. One now is running the power side, the other running the water side of the utilities division. We are searching right now for new leadership in our IT division. We had a faithful servant there for, I think she was with the company for 30 years or with the agency for 30 years. And so was our computer system, by the way. We were literally working with a 30-year-old piece of hardware and software that was antiquated, as you could only imagine in this modern era. So we got a $7 million one-time approval to purchase new computer equipment that will interface with the rest of the state. We were isolated in that regard as well. It's just reinvigorated. There's a new esprit de corps in the place. Doug Clark has been doing an outstanding job. And again, all of this happened, the budget increase, the hiring of Clark, with a 5-0 vote. So we've got full support down there, and our commissioners are doing a great job with our corporation commission. I wish I felt as good about some of the other areas of government.
I was going to say it's gratifying to hear that something is working at that level. I think that's very important to point that out in this age of cynicism. That's good to hear. Jim, I'm sure we could go on a lot further on some of these details. We give you a final shot. Any final remark you'd like to make about the Corporation Commission and the work before it right now?
Well, importantly, I was elected in 2020, as some hearing this will remember, as the write-in candidate. And I'm sure you'll remember because there aren't many, and you would have put Jim O'Connor on the blank line on the ballot. And that was a 1 in a million. And I'm the only person holding a statewide office in the state's 110-year history that has ever won as a write-in candidate. And then in the big election, the general in that year, I think I had 1,434,000 votes. So that was quite an honor to receive that, and it's been an honor to serve. I promised when I ran, because I don't like old people in politics, and I look in the mirror every morning when I shave, and I got to be one of those old guys before I knew it. So I promised one and done. So I am not running for re-election, but my fellow commissioners and I have recruited a young woman from Mesa by the name of Rachel Walden, W-A-L-D-E-N. Rachel is currently serving on the Mesa Unified School District Board. She's our canary in the coal mine over there, the only conservative on the board. And that is a pro bono job. She works at night and for no compensation in that role, as do all school board members. But Rachel has agreed to run, and she's filed to run to be my replacement. So we are working diligently to make sure that Rachel Walden gets on the ballot, because she'll be replacing my conservative vote on our 5-member commission.
Well, Jim, thank you so much for your time. And I hope to circle back with you shortly and talk a little Arizona politics with you.
Look forward to it.